So yes, settling down onto your backs. And I think maybe the first thing you could do is to feel the weight of your head on the floor, and then let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. And just do so in a very sort of easy, lazy way. So you're not pushing anything, but you're just easing out any tightness or tension that you might have come into your neck, particularly sometimes when we're sleeping, if we sleep a little bit awkwardly. That's it. So letting your head roll to the right and to the left. And then finding a comfortable place in the center. Yes, if you've got a ponytail, Rashmi, sometimes it's not that easy to roll your head from side to side. And letting your head come to rest in the center. So the center of the back of your head is resting in a comfortable place on the floor. And let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. Feel the weight of your body resting on the ground. And then if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And take a moment to feel the contact of your footprints on the floor, to feel the back of your pelvis on the floor. And then start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And see how that feels today, right now. So as your knees tilt to the right and to the left, you might feel the movement in your hip joints, around the back of your pelvis, into the sides of your body or your lower back. It's just really just noticing how this simple movement, how or what you feel in your body as your knees tilt from side to side. And do that maybe 2 or 3 more times. I'm just going to grab a tissue while you're doing that and I'll be back. Good, and then pause in the centre, and it's up to you. You can keep your knees bent or you can lengthen your legs out on the floor, so whichever is more comfortable. And we're going to do that movement where we take our arms up and make a triangle with our arms. That's it. So you're touching your palms together in prayer pose, immediately above your chest. So remember in this one, your hands stay stuck together, your elbows stay straight. You're starting to rock your triangle to the right and to the left. So let your head move. So you're rocking across your upper body. That's nice. And your head rolls to the right and to the left. Good, and see how this feels. So sometimes when I do this one, I can feel quite a lot of discomfort in my upper back. So if that's the case, it doesn't have to be a huge movement, yeah? So obviously we're releasing some of this tension, but there's a fine line between releasing and pushing and overdoing it. So just make sure you're not doing anything that's too uncomfortable. So a few more times, rocking to the right and to the left, the head going in the same direction as the hands stuck together. So really stick your palms together. Good, that's nice. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then let your arms come to rest down by your sides for a couple of breaths. That's it, or on your belly. So let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And in fact, maybe just bring your hands, like some of you do, onto your belly and just feel perhaps 2 or 3 cycles of breath moving through your body. So your hands could be on the belly, on the front of your body somewhere. And just see how your body is responding to your breathing. So maybe as you breathe in, your belly rises. As you breathe out, the belly settles back. So in a moment, we're going to come back to that movement we were just doing with the arms in a triangle, but you're going to explore taking the head in the opposite direction to the arms. But you might want, first of all, you might just want to come back to what we were doing. So come back to the arms being in a triangle. the hands stuck together. And first of all, yes, you can keep your legs long, Rashmi, it's fine. The legs can be long on the floor. And first of all, let the head and the arms rock in the same direction. So first of all, come back to just what we were doing and see how that feels. And then you can see what's it like if you try to take your head and arms in opposite directions. So it might end up being a smaller movement, yeah? And don't let your hands slide, Rashmi. I think I can see a little, that's it, good, well done, well done. Or anyone, don't let your hands slide. So it might be a smaller movement when the head and the arms are going in opposite directions, but you actually might feel more going on. So try this a few more times, keep it small, keep it comfortable. That's nice, the head and the arms going from side to side. And then you can go back to the first movement where the head and the arms go in the same direction, and that suddenly might feel a lot easier. So that's it, very nice, yeah. Come back to the head and the arms going the same way. So just once, twice more, and then let your arms come and rest down. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. Again, just feeling the movement of your breath through your body. It could be with your hands on the front of your body, or you can let your arms rest down beside you. I've got the Monday morning visit of the bin lorry just outside, so if it's a bit noisy, that's what it is. And then if your legs are long, bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. Take a moment to feel the footprints on the ground, and then come to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. Lovely, yes, and just see how that feels. So from working in the upper body, perhaps it all feels a little bit easier. It looks very nice in the lower body. Good. So perhaps this movement of the knees tilting from side to side, it maybe just feels a little bit more fluid. Okay, a couple more times to the right and to the left. And then maybe pause in the middle and fold your knees into your chest. Nigel, if you prefer, you could lengthen your legs out on the floor. I was going to say fold your knees into your chest and then take your legs up to the ceiling and give them a shake out. But if you prefer to take your legs long on the ground, so that's it. Take your legs up to the ceiling, give them a shake out. You could add your arms in as well. That's it, sort of arms and legs up towards the ceiling, or long legs on the floor. And then one last time, come back to having your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor. And this time give yourself a hug with your arms. So you're crossing your arms over your chest. That's it. So now what I'd like you to do is let your knees and your elbows and your head all roll one way and then the other way. That's it. Very nice. So you're rocking towards the right side of your body and then the left side of your body. Lovely. And just keep going from side to side. So you're giving yourself a bit of a massage. And it's up to you how far you go. But again, keep it sort of comfortable. Keep it so that you can keep rocking. That's nice. Side to side. Okay, so maybe just once, twice more to each side. That's nice. And then settle on your backs. Let a breath come in, and as you exhale, you're going to lengthen your legs out on the floor. That's it, so lie with your legs long. And then if it's comfortable, bring your arms up by the sides of your head. So arms up by the sides of your head, and you're going to interlink your fingers and then turn the palms of your hands away from your head. So if you can have your arms by the sides of your head, can you interlink your fingers and then turn the palms away from you? That's it. And then you stretch up into your hands and down into your heels. So point your toes up towards the ceiling, stretch your heels away, stretch into your hands. Don't overstretch so that you pull a muscle, but just feel very long through your body. And then you can release that. And from here, so bring your arms back to your sides. From here, you're going to roll onto your belly as easily as possible. So see if you can roll onto your belly without having to get up. You might roll off your mat and have to shuffle back onto your mat, but that's it. So trying to roll over. And all we're going to do is have a few breaths on our belly. So have your head and your arms however's comfortable. So what I would probably do is one hand on top of the other and my forehead or the side of my head resting on my hands. And you could give your pelvis a little bit of a wiggle. So we want to feel that we're settled as much as possible. So a little bit of wiggle of the pelvis from side to side. That's it. Just a bit of a wiggle of the bum. And then what's it like to have a few breaths on the belly? And we'll come back here and we'll move a bit more when we've done some other things, but just maybe for 2 or 3 more cycles of breath, feeling your breath come in, feeling your breath leave you. And then from being on your belly, you're going to fold back into child pose. And just have a breath or 2 in child pose. And just notice how it feels to be in child pose. So you might be quite happy on your belly, or you might find that you come into child pose and you're much happier there. That's it. So folding into child pose. Let your elbows rest on the ground. Let your hips come back over your heels as much as is possible at this point in the day. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then we're going to come onto hands and knees. So coming onto hands and knees, yes. And if you've got your bottom towards me, you might want to turn around on the mat. It doesn't really matter. Quite happy to look at you from that view. So hands and knees, settling down. Do a little bit of circling of your shoulders over your hands. And we're going to do some cat movements to start with. So once you feel you're settled on hands and knees, and it might take some of us a bit longer than others, when you feel settled, then start to round your back to the ceiling, dip your spine to the floor, and just see how that feels today, rounding and dipping. Letting your breath flow in and out. And doing a movement that feels comfortable, that feels fluid, that feels helpful for you today. So a few more times, rounding and dipping. And then we're going to do a little bit of tail wagging. So first of all, you're going to imagine you have a tail, a dog's tail or a fish's tail, and you're going to start to wag your tail or swish your tail from side to side and see how that feels. So how does it feel to do this sort of side to side movement of the pelvis? And what we're trying to feel is that we're shortening through one side of the body and then the other. And then we could do this same movement by moving our lower legs. So we'll do this quite slowly. Take your lower legs over to one side and look down towards them. And then take your lower legs over onto the other side and look along the side of your body towards your legs. And keep going from side to side, but reasonably slowly, because for me, I'd get a bit dizzy. So your lower legs go over to one side and you look down the side of that body towards that side of your body, towards your legs. Do that a couple more times. And again, see if you can notice how the sides of your body feel. One is lengthening out, the other one is gathering up. And then do that a bit more quickly, but without looking at your legs. So you're swinging your legs from side to side in little fishes. You're not looking at them. And we're going to come up from here. We're going to come up into dog pose. But if you feel that you need to just take the weight off your hands and give your hands a shake out and then come into dog. So you could be an up kneeling, that's fine. And then big handprints on the floor. So big handprints on the floor, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips back and then up into dog pose and seeing how your dog pose feels today and having a few breaths in that dog pose. Good. Very nice. Lovely. So remember, you can bend both knees, you can bend one knee. What we're looking for in dog is to get our legs to be working as much as possible and our shoulders and arms to be doing less. So that resting through the arms, but getting the legs to lengthen and support us. Good. A couple more breaths in dog. Whenever you want to come out of dog, you're going to fold down into child pose for a couple of breaths and just see how that feels. That's right. Actually, I was looking at my notes. From child pose, I'd like you to come on into kneeling. So if kneeling is challenging for you, be in an up kneeling or use some cushions. So it's fine. So if sitting on your heels isn't so good, which I know it isn't for a couple of you, come up to here. So you can be in a higher up kneeling, that's fine, especially if you haven't got blocks or cushions. And what I'd like you to do, however you are in kneeling, is a bit of a twist. So if you're in up kneeling, yeah, so Rashmi, if you can sit on your heels, do sit on your heels, yeah. But if it's tricky, Nigel, I hope you've got enough support. If it's tricky, be up here. And all I wanted you to do is just a kneeling twist. So it's easier when you're sitting down because your pelvis can't move. If you are in this one, Elaine, if you're going to be up here, just try to keep your pelvis facing forwards. And you're going to turn each way a couple of times. That's it. So let me have a look at you. Yeah, so when you're doing this twist, that's good. So Rashmi, think about your head and try to feel that your head is a continuation of your spine. So as you turn, your head's turning as well, but it's not sort of leaning somewhere. Your head's staying in the center. Good. So your head is turning the way you're turning. That's very nice. Good. That's it. So go that beautiful, Rashmi. That's really nice. Well done. Good. Very nice. Okay. So hopefully we've sort of balanced ourselves out now, gone each way a couple of times. And then from there, come back onto hands and knees. And first of all, just give each leg a little stretch out behind you, particularly if you were sitting down on the heels. So on hands and knees. So I've got the dog sitting, Otto sitting behind the laptop, so just push it over. So back onto hands and knees, and we're going to repeat all of that again. So the first thing we're going to do is come back to our cat movements. So on hands and knees, rounding the spine to the ceiling, dipping the spine down to the floor. Rounding and dipping, and just taking the time to notice how this feels in your body. So how does it feel when you round your back to the ceiling? How does it feel when you dip your spine down to the floor? Letting your breath flow in and out. And then you can come back to your tail wagging again. So how does it feel now to imagine you have a tail, dog's tail or a fish's tail, and wag or swish your tail? And we can also again do the versions where we move our lower legs, so we can look at our feet if we go more slowly. As we do this, we can really feel one side of the body lengthens, one side shortens. And then you can also do it more quickly, but perhaps without looking. So this little fish is one where we swing the feet from side to side. And then from here, we're going to go on into dog pose again. So again, if you need to shake your hands out, you could do that on hands and knees, one hand at a time. Shake each hand out. And then plant your hands down, tuck your toes under, exhaling, rock your hips back over your heels. So back up into dog pose and see how this second dog pose feels. So again, remember, bend the knees, bend one knee, bend both knees. Can the arms rest? Yes, Rashmi, you might have your feet a little bit wider apart, possibly. Yeah, so taking the feet wider can again help us to get a bit more into our legs and feet. Very nice. Let the head really hang. Good. So from dog pose, you can fold into child pose for a couple of breaths. So maybe just fold into child pose, let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then from child pose, we're going to slither forward onto our belly again. So see how it feels to come back onto your belly. Lie down on your belly, that's it. And again, take a little bit of time to settle. So perhaps 2 or 3 cycles of breath, giving your pelvis a bit of a wiggle. That's nice, very nice. Let the pelvis wiggle from side to side. Now, I'd like you this time to bring your arms so they're in a sort of big circle around your head. So your hands are a little bit further forwards on the floor than your head is, your forehead. So you've got your forehead on the floor, your arms sort of in a big circle around your head. And then you're going to see how does it feel as you exhale to sink into your elbows and your forearms and to lift your head. Good. Very nice. And do this a few times. So as you exhale, sink into your forearms, lift your head. And you could come back down as you breathe in. You could do that perhaps a couple more times. So as you breathe out, you sink into your forearms, you lift your head, and then you come back down as you breathe in. And then you could try moving into that, lifting your head as you breathe out, and then staying with your head lifted and receive an in-breath. And then come back down with the next exhale. And then the next time you sink into your forearms, you move up with an out breath and see how does it feel to stay there for a couple of cycles of breath. So supporting your head is off the floor, you let a breath come in, you let a breath leave you, you let another breath come in, you let another breath leave you. And then come back down and rest your forehead or the side of your head on the floor for a moment. And we're going to change the arm position. So you're going to slide your hands back a bit. So your hands are standing on the floor beneath your shoulders and your elbows are off the floor now. That's nice. Now, can you just let yourself roll across your forehead by pressing into one hand and then the other? So I think most of you know this one where you sort of, one at a time, you press into one hand and then you press into the other. So as you press into your hand, your shoulder draws back and your head rolls in that direction. That's nice, good. And then you could see, how does it feel to press into both hands together and let your head lift? So you press into both hands, that's it. You stay in the center, you let your head lift and maybe your chest, good. And then you come back down again. You just try that a few times. So it's like maybe a mini cobra. If cobra is really easy, then obviously you can go a little bit further, as it may well be for you, Rashmi, that's it. Try and keep the legs heavy on the floor. So let a breath come in, and it's as you exhale, you press down into your hands, feel your shoulders slide down your back, shoulder blades slide down your back, and then come back down again. So in Cobra, the pubic bone stays in contact with the ground, so it's a little bit different than face-up dog. Shoulders should stay nice and down away from your ears, and don't push it because it can be quite challenging, this one. And I think, yes, make this the last one. And then I think we're folding back into, yes, we're folding back into child pose again. So from, that's it, make that your last cobra, and then fold back into child pose. And just letting the back of your body lengthen out. Let your forehead rest on the ground, have a couple of breaths there. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Good. And then from here, from lunge, we're going to come back to thinking about opening out the front of the body. So we're going to come through hands and knees and into lunge. Sorry, I think I said from lunge, but from child pose, we're going to come into lunge. So through hands and knees, step 1 foot forwards in between your hands and see how it feels to open out through the front of your body. So as you know, in lunge, we always want to have our front knee over our front heel. This front foot is nice and planted on the floor. The back toes could be tucked under or they could be flat. And today we'll just keep it simple. We'll just have a few breaths in this lunge. So it's really up to you. You might be on your fingertips, you might be on the flats of your hands, you might be on your knuckles. And we're just trying to give the weight of the pelvis down to the ground. Breathe, release into it. So that feeling that we're opening here through the front of the back leg thigh. And what we can do from this lunge is we can ease back out of it before we come on to the other side. So you can untuck your back toe if it was tucked under and then ease backwards. So your back knee bends and your front knee lengthens out of it. That's it. Good. And then on hands and knees, swap sides. So bring your other foot forwards. And then sometimes when we brought our foot forwards, we need to tuck our toes under and walk our back leg away a bit more. And just see how does it feel to be in lunge on side 2 today. So again, we've got our front knee over our front heel. The toes are either tucked under or flat in the back foot. And you can be on your fingertips, you can be on your sort of knuckles if you make fists, or you can be on the flats of your hands. Having a couple more breaths here. So when we come into standing, which we're going to do quite shortly, we're going to be exploring some more movements where we're opening through the front of the body. So if it's possible, so again, what we can do is, let's ease out from this lunge in the same way. Let's ease out by untucking the back toe, rocking back. Good. And then let's come onto hands and knees, and then we're going to move through dog pose and a forward bend up into standing. So one more time, big handprints on the floor, tucking your toes under, exhaling, rocking your hips back over your heels, picking your knees up off the floor. See how it feels to be back in dog pose. So we could be thinking a little bit about our feet in this dog pose by bending one knee and coming right up onto the ball of that foot. That would start to bring a bit more flexibility into our feet. And we could also do the one where we roll through the tips of the toes. This is 1 foot at a time onto the top of the toes. So roll through the tips of the toes onto the top of the toes. You can, that's it. Do this. 1 foot and then the other. And then eventually we will be making our way into a forward bend. So untuck your toes, have the soles of both feet pointing the floor towards the floor. Start to walk your hands in towards your feet. So all of your weight ends up in your feet. We're in our forward bend. Let the head go, let the arms go. Let a breath come in as we exhale down into the heels, rolling up into standing. Are we all there? Good. Good. So let's arrive in standing. So we'll just do a few things to get ourselves moving, and then we're going to do some balancing things and this. So first thing, sorry, I didn't say, I'm just doing it. So swinging your arms, sort of loose, easy swinging twist. So Sheila, you can make the most of all that wonderful space you've got in your loft by swinging your arms out. That's it, very nice. Swinging your arms, slapping them onto your body. Good, a few more times. So just enjoying that feeling of your body being in movement. Let your feet move. So if your feet are stuck to the floor, that's it. Let your feet come along too. Okay, so we could just carry on with this, but let's let it go. And yeah, just maybe give your feet a little shake out, one foot and then the other. It's so much easier to balance when we're not thinking about it. We're thinking about shaking our feet. And then let's settle down with our feet hip width apart and parallel. Let a breath come in, and as you exhale, bring your arms up by the sides of your head and start to reach up into one arm and then the other. And as you reach up, you're shifting your weight into the reaching arm leg. Just sort of, that's it, reaching and shifting your weight from side to side. Very nice. And then what you can do, I'm not quite sure you can see my hands, what you can do is you can reach up through your right arm and catch your left hand around your right wrist. So then you're sort of using the left hand to draw yourself up and over to the left. Really long through the right side of the body. And then swap over, take your right hand around your left wrist and lengthen, so you're drawing yourself up and over to the right, using the right arm. Good. Come back to the center, let a breath come in and then down into a forward bend. If your lower back needs some support, bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs. Otherwise, let yourself flop forward. So just seeing, how do you feel in the forward bend today? How does your back feel? Let your head go. That's it, let the head go, that's it, good. Nice to bend the knees, I think, Rashmi, that looks good. Bending the knees, lovely, yes. And then let a breath come in as you exhale, rolling back up into standing, keeping your head heavy. So we're going to think first of all about these little balances where we come to balance on the balls of our feet. So this one where we're rocking forwards onto the balls of our feet. So we just do that a few times because my feet always need to warm up for this. So we were sort of getting them moving a bit in dog pose. But it's how does it feel when we bring our weight forwards onto the balls of our feet. We're really asking those toes to flex. So it's quite helpful in this one if you're focusing your gaze on a point. So like any balances, if we bring our gaze to focus on a point ahead of us. Being steady. Okay. So maybe the feet are starting to move a little bit now. So let's see if we can stay in this balance. So up on the balls of the feet, can we stay there? Can we? How steady can we feel? Can we let the arms come up? They can come up by our sides and then up towards the sides of the head, but keeping the shoulders heavy and relaxed. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. Any balance, we may have a steady or a more wobbly day. Good. Come down. Give your legs a little shake out. And then we'll come back up and we'll do this one where we bring the hands into Hakini Mudra, this one, over our head and then down in front of our chest. So we'll come into the balance first of all. Yeah, so come into the balance first of all and then we'll bring our arms up. So just check your feet hip width apart and parallel. Start to bring your weight forwards onto the balls of your feet. That's good. And then let your arms float up, keeping the shoulders heavy and relaxed. And then over your head, you're touching the pads of the thumbs and the fingers together. So each little finger touches the other little finger, etc. And then keep touching those pads of the fingers and thumbs and bring your hands down in front of your chest, if possible with your elbows out to the sides, shoulders dropping. And see if you can have a few breaths here. So hopefully you're still balancing on the balls of your feet. Good. Very nice. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. That's it. And then coming all the way down. Shake out your hands, shake out your legs. So we're going to come into another balance, a familiar one, where we're bringing our weight now into one foot. And so we're going to do this balance now, and then we're going to come back to a variation of it in a moment. So let's take the right arm up. So it's this one where we're taking the right arm up, we're shifting our weight into our right leg. The left arm's heavy and relaxed. Can we let the left heel come off the floor? Can we let the ball of the left foot start to lighten so then we can catch either our trouser leg or our left foot and let the left knee drop towards the floor? Good. Good. So catch the trouser leg, catch your foot, and then bring your hand down to your breastbone. This is quite a quiet place to be. Elaine, good. Get a good grip on that trouser leg. Let the knee drop down towards the floor. Just see how it feels. This is our first little exploration of being on one foot today. So see how that foot feels. If you can feel another cycle of breath move through you. Feel the breath come in, feel the breath leave you. Good. Well done. Come down, have a little shake out. And then settle your feet back down again. So just look at your feet for a moment, hip width apart and parallel. Again, it might be helpful to bring your gaze forwards onto a point that can help you feel steady. Start to reach up with your left arm. Let the right arm feel heavy and floppy. Start to shift your weight into your left foot. The right heel comes off the floor. We're catching the trouser leg in the right foot, or we're catching the top of the right foot, whatever's easier. And have a breath or two with your arms still up, if that's possible. And then let your hand come onto your breastbone. All the time we're letting that right knee drop towards the floor. We're feeling the flow of the breath through our body. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leaving us. Good, well done. Very nice. Lovely. Come down, have a little shake out. And we're going to go back into a forward bend. So settle both feet down on the floor, hip width apart and parallel, and start to look down at your feet and then let your arms hang, let your head hang, let your shoulders roll forwards towards the floor. Let your knees bend a little or a lot. Going all the way, that's it, down and down. So if you get to a point where you're not going any further down, that might be when you bend your knees a bit more. It's fine to, as long as the knees keep bending forwards over the feet rather than in towards each other or out to the sides. Very nice. Let a breath come in, and then as you exhale, start to roll back up again. So what I would like you to do is roll back up until you feel that you're in standing, you're back in neutral, and you can look forwards, perhaps to that point you were looking at when you were balancing. And then from there, with your hands on the front of your pelvis, can you let your gaze come up? And as you start to look up, can you let your pelvis come forwards and your weight come more towards the front of your feet? And perhaps do that a couple of times from standing. So from just being in standing, can you then let yourself, can you look up and let your pelvis move forwards? Now, you might find it's helpful to bend your knees more to do this, to bend your knees to let your tailbone drop if your lower back feels it could do with lengthening out a bit. Okay. Let's go all the way back down into a forward bend. So we're going to do a few more of these standing back arches, but go all the way into a forward bend. So, because we just need to be careful with our lower backs in these. They're really nice movements for feeling sort of awake and alive. Which is what we want on a Monday morning. So roll back up into standing. And this time you're going to have one hand on your belly and one arm's going to come up. So as you start to look up, you still move your pelvis forwards. And this arm, you know, see, this arm can come back. So we're thinking about opening through the front of the body. And then we can swap arms. We can try the same thing, but with the other hand on the belly, the other arm up by the side of the head. And then roll back down into a forward bend again. Let your head go, let your arms go. And then we'll do this again, if you like, taking both arms up. So let a breath come in. As you exhale, roll back up into standing. So this time you're taking your arms up, your gaze up, and your pelvis forwards. You can try that a couple of times. These are not what movements you really want to try and stay in. Just, yeah. What's it like to, that's nice, very nice, beautiful. What's it like to try that movement of opening through the front of the body? And then this time, yes, we'll go down into a forward bend. And if you want to go on into a squat, if you're not you, Elaine, you could do. So this time from your forward bend, let your head go, let your arms go. If it would be nice for your lower back to carry on into a squat, you could do that. And Elaine, you just bend your knees however much is comfortable. So you could bend your knees so your chest is resting on your thighs, and then you could carry on bending the knees so your pelvis comes down towards the floor. If your heels come up, that's fine. You could always slide a cushion or a book under your heels. Have a couple of breaths there, and then we'll reverse this movement to come back into standing. So if you did slide something under your heels, slide it out again. Let the weight come into the balls of your feet. Start to then send your heels down and your sit bones up, back into your forward bend, and then rolling all the way back up into standing. When you arrive in standing, have a little bit of a shake out. So we're going to revisit the balance we just did, but with slightly differently. So I'm going to show you. We're going to do this mudra. So this is chin or Jnana mudra, where we're touching the thumb and the index finger together. And what we're going to do, and I'm actually side on, so we're going to, let's see, so if we're standing on the right foot, the left hand's going to be at the breastbone. No, it's not right. If we're standing on the right foot, it's the right hand here. Let me just show you first, because we'll come here, like we were. We'll keep the hand in the mudra, we'll come to here. But then the one I want you to try is from here, starting to bring your foot away from your bottom and your arm down. And then you look up a bit, level with your hand. So I was playing around with this yesterday, and if I tried to look at my hand, I couldn't balance. So I was looking sort of up, but level with my hand. But you could play around with looking at your hand. For some reason, it just really didn't work with me. Maybe it's not steady enough. So that's what we're going to try. So hand at the breastbone, arm up, and then that's sort of reaching forwards and back with the foot, looking sort of up to the level of the hand. So let's start again. So feet hip width apart and parallel. With your right hand, you're going to touch the thumb and the index finger together in this mudra. This is Jnana mudra, wisdom mudra. And then we're going to start to shift our weight onto our right foot. So we're going to be catching the top of the left foot or the trouser leg. So coming to this balance that we were in just a moment ago. And just seeing if we can sort of be steady here for a breath or two with the hand on the breastbone. And then we can see, keeping the thumb and index finger touching, what's it like to take our arm up, first of all, towards the ceiling. So we're just being long and tall again. And then from being long and tall, we start to bring that hand down a little bit. We're moving our foot back behind us. Turn your palm upwards. And then see what it's like to bring your gaze up towards your hand a bit. That's it. Very nice. Good. Lovely. Beautiful. So if you're pulling your foot back away from your bottom and you're looking up a bit, you might feel your upper back getting involved in this movement. Yeah, that's it, Sarah. Good, good with the looking up. That's very nice. Yes. Well done. There's quite a lot to think about. Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't start looking up, Helen. Oh, so that's interesting. Yeah, come down and have a little shake out. Let's try that side again. So I would start very much, your starting point is, I should just try the other side. We can always come back to that side. I think it might be a bit much if we do the side. So let's try with the left hand. Touch the left thumb and index finger. Bring your hand to your breastbone. Shifting your weight onto your left leg. So all at this point, we're just looking straight forwards. So just as we would normally be in a balance, our gaze is forwards, knees dropping towards the floor. At this point, we're taking our arm up. We're still looking forwards. We can feel the contact of the thumb and index finger. And then start to let your back foot move away from your bottom and start to lower that arm partway down. So it's maybe level with your head. And at that point, then start to look up a little bit, not too high. So you're looking level with your hand. You're bringing your gaze up, not really towards the ceiling, but just up towards the hand at that same sort of level. That's very nice. Well done. Beautiful. And see, yes, see how that feels. So it may make you feel a bit more wobbly, this sort of moving your gaze where you're looking. Good. Very nice. Lovely. Come down, have it beautiful. That's fantastic. Come down, have a little shake out. I think we might just try that once again on each side. So have a little shake out. If you feel you need to come into a forward bend, do so. And then let's try that. We'll go through it maybe slightly more quickly, not to race you through it, but just so that we have perhaps longer to be in the final bit. So let's try on the right side again. Let's touch the thumb and the index. So in standing, touch your thumb and index finger together. Bring the hand onto your breastbone. Then we're going to shift our weight onto the right leg. Catch the top of the left foot or the trouser leg. And at this point, we're just looking forwards. And then take your arm up towards the ceiling. So we're still looking forwards. We're still feeling long and tall. And then start to move, let your foot move back a little bit. Start to let that arm come down in front of you. And then see what it's like to let your gaze come up a little bit, in sort of level with your hand. Very nice, good. Good. Beautiful. Yes, you don't need to stay there for long. You can come back down and you can try the other side again. Well done, everyone. So settling the feet, hip width apart and parallel. So it's last side, touching the thumb and index finger in the left hand. Bring the hand to your breastbone. Shifting your weight onto your left foot. Catching the right trouser leg or the right foot. So remember these first ones when we're here, they're just about being quite steady and quiet, looking forwards. We can take the arms straight up to the ceiling. We're feeling that contact of the thumb and index finger. And then we can start to let our foot move back away from our bottom. We can bring our arm down. Perhaps we slightly tip forwards. And then we let our gaze come up a little bit. We notice what we feel in the upper back. Good. Very nice. Well done. Beautiful. Well done, everyone. It's fab. Very nice. Well done. Yeah, that was great. I hope you didn't mind being put through it twice, but I think, yeah, it looked absolutely fabulous. Oh. Let me see, what are we doing? Let's come down into a forward bend. We could do a little bit of what Sheila, I saw you doing earlier, is the weeping willow movements. Because I've got one last balance for us, but it's a much quieter one. So come into a forward bend and just, yeah, let your lower back have a little chance to lengthen out. You can do some weeping willow movements with your Fingertips around the fronts of your feet, that's very nice, beautiful, let the head hang. Yeah. And in fact, in a moment, we're going to do some sort of bigger movements like this, really. The contrast with all this focus of the balances. And then settle in the center, let a breath come in, sink into your heels, roll up into standing. So, because we've done a couple of balances with mudras, I was then reminded of this balance that we did a few weeks ago now. So if I show you, it's where we come, our weight comes onto our right foot and we just wrap our left foot around the back of the right shin, I suppose it is, ankle. And then the right hand comes up and faces forwards. The left hand comes down and faces forwards. So I think you may or may not remember this one. You may not have done it. That's it. So you're just letting, so the left ankle, the left foot has come around the back of the right sort of calf, I suppose it is. The right hand comes up and faces forwards. The left hand comes down and faces forwards. Good. And in this one, the top hand, the right hand symbolises fearlessness and the bottom hand symbolises forgiveness. And if we can just sort of settle here and see how it is to breathe. I'm just going to come towards you and hopefully not knock you over. Helen, if you just turn your bottom hand so it's facing like down, like can you, yeah, it's probably going to make you fall over. Bring it a bit lower down. That's it. Perfect. Yes. Perfect. I couldn't quite see where I was. Okay. Very nice. So this is quite a meditative balance, perhaps. Depends how wobbly or otherwise we're feeling. Come down and have a little shake out and we'll try it on the other side. So it's perhaps a little bit quieter than what we were just doing. So starting feet hip width apart and parallel. So this time your right foot is going to come around the back of your left calf. And you can be quite active with that foot to keep it there. So this time the left hand is coming up and facing forwards. The right hand is coming down and facing forwards. So your right fingertips are pointing towards the floor. Good. And your left fingertips are pointing towards the ceiling. And your centers of your palms feel soft and open. See if you can let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And so remember this, in this pose, there's this sense of these two qualities of fearlessness and forgiveness. This is what the hands symbolize in this. Perhaps fearlessness for trying to balance and forgiveness for when we have a bit of a wobble. Okay, come down, have a little shake out. So we're just going to do a few last things in standing, which are really about just moving. So the first one is come back to this swinging twist. So we're just going to do some very sort of free and easy movements. But obviously make sure whatever you're doing in them feels comfortable in your body. So this one first of all. In a moment I'll show you the next one. So a few more times, swinging your arms to the right and to the left. Okay. And then we're going to do this one where, see, I'm taking my feet a bit as wide as the narrow edge of the mat. And what we're going to be doing is taking the arms up and then bending, as we come forwards, bending the knees and swinging our arms down in between our legs. So this one is called wood, if you think of it, it's called wood chopper. So that's sort of the movement you're doing, but make sure your lower back feels okay with this. So the arms come up, and then you swing, you bend your knees as you go forwards, you swing your arms down between your legs and back. So it's quite, it's quite active. We want to feel quite floppy. Yeah, try and feel as floppy and fluid as you can. Do this a couple more times, and then you can stay in that forward bend. Arms up. So it's just quite good to do a little bit of movement. So perhaps whenever you're ready, just let yourself flop forwards in that position with your feet a bit wider apart. And that knees can be as bent as you like. Yes, and then the final one we're going to do, I don't know whether, yes, roll up into stand. Don't know whether you need to watch me for a moment. Is again with the feet quite wide. They might be as wide as they were. Is this what I call a sort of gorilla swing, where you're swinging your arms from side to side, but you're turning. So unlike the weeping willow, you're actually turning in this one towards the right and towards the left. And that's it, channeling your, very nice, Sheila, channeling your inner monkey. Good. So just make sure you've got space to do this without hitting someone or something. Yeah. That's it, Elaine. Turn around if you want to hit something. And obviously don't do it if it doesn't feel good, but it can feel quite nice to be really sort of, yeah, floppy. And again, just let yourself flop forwards when you've finished enough of that sort of twisty. Very nice. All nice and free and easy. Good. And from there, you can sink into your heels, roll up into standing. And you're going to come to the backs of your mats. We're going to do a sort of different sort of movement, and then we'll come down to a forward bend and dog pose. So at the back of your mat, bring your hands together in prayer pose. And just take a moment to settle in prayer pose, so quietly at the back of your mat. Helen, are you moving down to the lounge? So we'll see you in there in a moment. So settling with the hands in prayer pose at the back of your mat. And then from here, you're going to let a breath come in. And as you exhale, take your arms down, your hands down and then up. And touch your hands over your head in prayer pose. And then from there, that's it. So the hands touch over the head in prayer pose. From there, keep the hands in prayer pose and bring the base of your thumbs to rest on that point between your eyebrows. And let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then bring the base of your thumbs to rest down on your breastbone. And let a breath come in and let a breath leave you. And then as you exhale again, take your arms down and then up. This time you're going to then sweep all the way down into a forward bend. Have a couple of breaths in your forward bend. And then bend your knees enough so you can bring your hands to the floor and walking your hands forwards into dog pose. Yes, forward bend and dog pose, Elaine. Good. Forward bend, dog pose, and I think it's probably child pose. Yes, forward bend, dog pose, child pose. Actually, in fact, it wasn't child pose, but yes, but do child pose, I think, and then we'll come on to what else we were going to do. So come into child pose, elbows on the floor, maybe elbows a little wider apart, Rashmi, so your shoulders, that's it, so your shoulders can relax a bit more. Good. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then from child pose, you're going to come towards the front of your mat, because I want us to come into plank pose. And to have enough room for your legs, you probably need to come towards the front of your mat. So come on to hands and, yes, hands and knees at the front of your mat. So shoulders over your wrists. You're going to lengthen one leg back behind you and see how it feels to add the other leg in to plank pose. And then if we've been thinking about where we're looking today, so in plank pose, we're looking down just slightly forward of our fingertips. And we'll have a couple of breaths here. And you can come down from your plank, you can give your hands, you can come down, give your hands a little bit of a shake out. Now, just watch me focus. We're going to go back into plank pose, but then from this plank pose, we're going to, yes, we're going to go somewhere else. So maybe just watch me for a moment. We're going to come back into plank. You'll have another few lovely breaths in plank. From this plank pose, you're going to then keep your hands where they are, bring your knees down. We'll rock back to here with the toes tucked under. And then we'll do a little bit of moving forwards into our face up dog, okay? But our starting point is plank pose. So come back, you'll be thrilled to into your plank pose. So shoulders over your wrists, lengthening one leg back behind you and then the other leg back. So back into plank pose for 2 or 3 breaths, looking down on the floor, just slightly forward of your fingertips. And then from plank pose, keep your hands where they are, keep your toes where they are, bring your knees down to the floor. Keep your toes tucked and fold your hips back over your heels. Keep your hands where they are. So your forehead might come down towards the floor, but your hands stay, your elbows don't. Let a breath come in, and then you're going to round your back, like in rounded up cat, and start to bring your pelvis forwards towards face up dog. So keep looking back at your pelvis. We come forwards towards face up dog. We can untuck the toes. And we're going to do this 3 times. So then we're going to reverse it. So start to go back. Start to tuck your toes under. So you go all the way back into the sort of child pose with the toes tucked under, looking back at your feet. Let a breath come in. And then again, travel forwards, rounding your back to the ceiling, looking at your pelvis until your shoulders are over your hands. That's it. And then untuck your toes. Have a breath here. Let the breath come in. And then again, rock back. Tuck your toes under all the way back into this child pose with the toes tucked under. And then one more time, traveling forwards into face up dog. Watching your pelvis come forwards all the way into face up dog. We're going to do a tiny little bit more face up dog in a moment, but first of all, just rock back into child pose and take the weight out of your hands and wrists for a moment. So with your feet flat now, go back into child pose with your feet flat on the floor. And have a couple of quiet breaths there. Let the elbows rest on the floor now. Make it a nice quiet child pose, where you can feel your breath coming in and your breath leaving you. Now I just wanted you to come onto hands and knees, and we're going to do a little bit of going to face up dog from using our side bending, but maybe come into kneeling or up kneeling and just do this with your hands. So touch the backs of your wrists together. So either sitting and kneeling or up here, just do this one. Because these ones are quite strong for the wrists, and give the hands a little shake out. So when you come back onto hands and knees, you're going to be in this long hands and knees position. So the hands are further forwards than the shoulders. And you're going to your tail wagging, and you're going to wag your tail and rock back into child. And you're going to move the pelvis side to side and come forwards into face up dog. So using this movement of your pelvis moving side to side, your tail wagging, to take you forwards into face up dog and backwards into child pose. So maybe another 3 times, forwards and back. Tail moving from side to side. Back again. And seeing how that feels good. If you're in face up dog and you have a cycle of breath, make sure your shoulders are down away from your ears when you're looking at the clock. And then once more, if you've done 3 face up dogs that way, once more folding back into child pose. Very nice, beautiful, very nice. I like the father and daughter face up dogs. They look very nice. Good. So just a couple of quiet breaths in child pose. You could be in kneeling if you prefer, or if child pose, or you could lie on your belly. So just choose one of those 3 positions for a few quiet breaths. Child pose kneeling or lying on your belly. And come to feeling the movement of your breath in your body. So as the breath comes in, see where you feel your body expanding as it receives the inhalation. And as the breath leaves you, see if you can let your body feel heavier on the floor. Can you let the shoulders soften? And maybe 2 more cycles of breath wherever you are, feeling the breath coming in, feeling the breath leaving you. And then from child pose, we're going to come to sit in cobbler pose. So what you might like to do first of all is come to sit on your bottom and lean back on your hands and let your legs lengthen out in front of you. So give your legs a little bit of a roll and lengthen out after the legs being bent. And we'll see how cobbler pose feels. We'll do one side of pinwheel and then we'll maybe stay in our cobbler pose. Or Casper the cat is just joining us for, yeah, the cats have their own, they do their own thing. Cat's nose. No, it's fine, he's a good boy. So yes, so see how it feels when you bring your feet into cobbler pose. You could still be leaning back onto your hands, depending. So we haven't done many of these sort of movements today, this external rotation in the hip joints. So if, like me, your hips are feeling a bit stiff, then don't worry. Hopefully they'll feel a bit less stiff soon. So yes, if it all feels easy, you can be walking your hands in, just seeing how it feels to sit upright in cobbler pose. You could be holding your feet or your ankles. And then what we'll do from here is move on into pinwheel. So let one knee come over on top of the other knee. Let this top leg slide back. And we can do a little bit of circling here. So seeing how this feels. So a little bit of rocking or circling. And then remember there's the option which we've done more recently to do this same movement, giving yourself a hug and letting your head hang. So if your neck and shoulders are feeling tight, this is quite a nice option to be giving yourself a hug, to be letting your head hang forwards. But it might be today that actually your neck and shoulders are feeling fine. It's all very, going now. It's all very different day to day. Okay. And then what we're going to do is, as we usually do in pinwheel, turn to face this leg that's going out to the side and just fold the weight of our body down over that leg. Let ourselves settle down on the floor. So it might be our hands on the floor, it might be our elbows coming down. Some of you might find you can touch your forehead. Yeah, make sure your elbow, yeah, that's it, Rashmi. Relax the arms as much as possible. So when we're in this pinwheel forward bend, it's about just being heavy, settling down, receiving the breath, receiving the inhalation, letting the out breath go. See if you can feel 2 more cycles of breath move through your body. So feel the breath come in, feel the breath leave you. And then slowly start to walk your hands back in towards you. And we'll slide this back leg, once we're on top of the leg we just folded over, we'll open our legs out into cobbler pose. And so I often find after one side of pinwheel, cobbler pose feels a little bit easier. So let's just do a little bit of rocking here. Yeah, So you could be holding your feet or your ankles, or you could have your hands on the floor beside you. Can you rock your weight onto one sit bone, one buttock, and then the other? Yeah. Yes, that's it, Rashmi. You'd like me to rock all the way over onto your back, although I think the sofa's in your way. So a little bit of rocking. Okay, and then can we leave the legs and the pelvis heavy and do a little bit of leaning? Lean our body to the right and to the left, and we can add our top arm in. So it's these sort of side lengthening movements. That's it. Try to be heavy below the waist. That's very nice. Long through one side of the body and then the other. Very nice. Good. Okay, we'll just do this once more to each side. I always get a bit carried away when I'm doing this one and don't know when to stop. So from there, so the leg we just folded over, now let that leg come on top. The other leg, slide it back. So we should be on side 2 of pinwheel. If you're on the same side again, then quickly swap over and do a little bit of rocking here and just see how it feels, a little bit of circling. Circling either with your arms loose and free, or if you like, giving yourself a hug. So in this one, I tend to have my hands on my shoulders, on sort of the ball of the shoulder. Let the head hang. So that you're releasing some of this tension around the neck and shoulders. A little bit of circling, good. Circling, settling. And then whenever you're ready, we'll turn towards this knee that's going out to the side, and we'll fold down over that leg and have a few quiet breaths. So letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you in your pinwheel forward bend. Arms as relaxed as possible. Settling down. Perhaps 3 more cycles of breath. See if you can feel the movement of the breath through you. For 3 more in and out breaths. So one last cycle of breath. Feel the breath come in, feel the breath leave you. And then walking your hands in towards you. And this time lean back onto your hands, lengthen your legs out in front of you. Give them a little bit of a roll out. Roll or a shake. Maybe just very briefly, we're going to come and sit and do some breathing, but very briefly before we do that, just see how it feels to take your legs long and wide. So Rashmi, yes, you might need to swing round on your mat, because I imagine you can probably take your legs quite wide. So yes. So in this one, you could be leaning back on your hands. So we're just mainly thinking about giving the legs a chance to, or lean back on the sofa if it's there, Rashmi. That would be nice. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We're just really giving the legs a chance to lengthen out after all those bent leg things. That's it. Yeah. So you can use the arms to support you, or a sofa, or whatever you like. So while we're here, why don't you just think about how you're going to sit comfortably for some breathing, because you probably don't want to be sitting like this. You could, if you wanted to sit with your legs a little bit wide and your back to the wall or a sofa, that's quite good, but not really wide. So from here, let's come into a comfortable sitting position for some breathing. So that could be sitting cross-legged. So I'm going to sit on a cushion and cross my legs. But you might, yes, back against. So Rashmi, if you're there, just that's it. Have your back right up. If you're sitting against the sofa, have the back of your pelvis right up against it, because then that will help your spine stay upright. Oh, interesting, Sheila. Is that against a post of the stairs? That's quite nice for your spine to be upright. Yeah. So it's nice to be able to sit as effortlessly as possible. I'm just thinking I might need to tilt this down a little bit. So I thought we would come back to the breathing we did last, this will be last Monday, but we're going to do it in sitting. And don't worry if you don't remember what on earth we did. A week's a long time at the moment. So you're going to start with your hands palms down on your thighs. So rest the palms of your hands on your thighs. Let me tilt that down a little bit more. Palms of your hands on your thighs. And closing your eyes and just connecting with your breathing. So let your shoulders drop. In fact, we might just do 2 or 3 big sighing breaths to start with. And it could be that as you breathe in, you gather your shoulders up a little bit towards your ears, and as you exhale, you let your shoulders drop down away from your ears. And again, breathing in, gather the shoulders up a bit, and exhale, drop the shoulders down. Maybe one last time, breathing in. And see if you can keep the shoulders heavy and relaxed. And we're going to keep the left palm facing down and turn the right hand so the palm is facing towards the ceiling. And then we did this last week lying on our backs. What I'd like you to do is we're going to touch the thumb first of all to the little finger, and you're going to have a cycle of breath. So let a breath come in and let a breath leave you, touching your right thumb to your right little finger pad. And then move on to the ring finger, letting a breath come in, letting a breath leave you, touching the thumb to the ring finger pad. And then touching the thumb to the middle finger pad, letting a breath come in, letting a breath leave you. And then touching the thumb to the index finger pad, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. And then moving back down through the other 3 fingers. So going back to the middle finger for an in-breath and an out-breath. And then back through the ring finger and the little finger in your own time. And when you finish, turn that hand palm down again on your thigh. And just feel a cycle of breath move through you. And then you're going to do the same thing on the left hand. So turn the left palm so it faces the ceiling. And start by touching your thumb onto the pad of your little finger. And let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. Touch the thumb onto the pad of the ring finger. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. Touch your thumb onto the pad of the middle finger, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. Touch your thumb onto the pad of your index finger, letting a breath come in, letting a breath leave you. And then back in your own time through the fingers. So back to the middle finger, and then the ring finger, and then the little finger. And as you touch the pad of each finger, let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And when you finish, just have both palms resting, facing the ceiling. So the back of the hand touching your thigh. And you're going to take your thumb and you're going to move your thumb across your palm. So the thumb comes towards the base of the ring finger or the base of the little finger. And then you're going to wrap your 4 fingers around your thumbs. So you're making this sort of little fist. And then bring your hands, palms down on your thighs. So you've got your thumb encircled by your 4 fingers. And we'll have maybe half a dozen cycles of breath here. Letting the shoulders drop, letting the elbows feel heavy, feeling your thumb encircled by your fingers as you let your breath come in, as you let your breath leave you. We'll have 2 more cycles of breath here and then we're going to be lying down. So let your breath come in. Let your breath leave you. And you can release your hands and you might want to fold forwards and bring your hands to the ground. And maybe even your forehead. And just as you're getting ready to lie down, I just wanted to show you what we're going to do lying down because you just might want a cushion. I thought we'll do a little bit of tilting our knees, but then we will do this twist where we're supporting our knees down towards the floor. And you might want a cushion to go under the legs. See that one. So the other arm stays on the floor at shoulder height. But so first of all, lie down onto your backs, and we'll do just a bit of lie on your backs with your knees bent. Yeah, have your cushion to hand if you think you might want a cushion. But lie down onto your backs with your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor. So first of all, we'll just do a little bit of coming back to where we started, lying on your back, knees bent, feet standing on the floor, letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And just seeing how that feels. Letting yourself start to settle and arrive on your back. You could also be letting your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. So the head could be rolling in the same direction as the knees or the opposite direction to the knees. And then when you're ready, you can fold your knees. So pause in the center and fold your knees into your chest. So you've folded your knees into your chest. You're going to wrap one arm. So one arm is going to support your legs. So you might be able to wrap your arm around the back of your thighs. The other arm goes onto the floor at shoulder height. So the other shoulder, we're trying to keep it on the floor. And you might want your cushion under those knees that are coming down towards the floor. Or you might just want your arm under them. But it is quite nice. Just quite nice with a cushion. So that's it. You keep your shoulder down on one side, your knees come down onto the other side. Very nice. Using a cushion if you've got that to hand. That's good, Rashmi. Just keep that shoulder nice and settled on the floor. Good. And have a few breaths in this twist. Noticing how it feels. And just letting your shoulder and your legs settle down. Feel heavy on the ground. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. So yes, whenever if you're happy in your twist, have another cycle or two of breath there. Whenever you want to come out, you just slowly bring your knees back to the center. Have a couple of quiet breaths in the center. That's it. So fold your knees into your chest. That's it, Rashmi. So hug your knees in towards you. And swap your arms over. So yeah, and swap your cushions over too. So the arm that was supporting your knees last time is now going to be the arm that stays heavy on the floor. And the other arm is going to support your knees. You could wrap your arm around the back of your thighs. That's it. Rashmi, bring your knees back into your chest and try and keep your knees. So as you go over, if you put your arm around the back of your knees, try and keep your knees really close up to your chest, because I think you can do that. That's it. But then, and then your shoulder on the floor, that's it. You just have to, Dad's feet are there, but I'm sure you can manage, negotiate. Good. So we've got a heavy shoulder on one side, knees resting down on the other side, maybe a cushion under them can be really helpful and comfortable. And a few cycles of breath, settling into the twist as much as possible, letting the breath flow in and out. So if you're happy in your twist, have another cycle or two of breath there. But again, whenever you're ready, rolling back to the center. Bringing your knees in towards your chest, maybe taking your legs up to the ceiling and giving them a little shake out before we finish lying down. You can shake your legs out, you can shake your arms out. We've just got a couple of minutes lying quietly on our backs. So with your legs long or your knees bent, whatever you prefer. And make sure, as the sun seems to have slightly disappeared, make sure you're warm enough. So if you need a blanket or a top or something, yes, Rashmi, it looks like you need to get something to make yourself a bit warmer. So if you have got something to hand, you can put on a blanket or a jumper. So you can let your hands maybe settle on the front of your body. Rest your hands on your belly, on your low ribs, and finish with feeling the movement of the breath in your body. And just letting yourself settle, letting the body settle on the ground. And as your body settles, then your breath can find its own rhythm and movement through the body. Feeling your body rising, expanding, widening as the breath comes in. Feeling your body emptying, settling, narrowing, softening as the breath leaves you. So in a moment, I'm going to ring the singing bowl 3 times and just let the sounds come to you and wait for the silence after the 3rd ring. And then you can start to move a little bit more and come round. So I think that was 3. Might just give you one more because it is Monday after all. So thank you, everyone. Take your time. I'm going to unmute people. Well, you might have to unmute yourselves if you want to say anything. I managed to unmute you, Sheila, but everyone else.
Thank you.
Sheila, did you try and join yoga yesterday, or was it because I had some bizarre message? So